Basically, it's, the guys come into town to capture their show, and I put it out there, so people could see it. And that's basically how I got known, was going out and capturing these shows. And, I wouldn't charge them either, because a lot of people think that these guys are rich and they live in big houses and they got it made. It's like, that's not the case, with the exception of a couple people from here, Joe Walsh and Eric Harmon. Those guys, they did very well.
Yeah.
But the guys in the bands, they had to go out and get jobs.
Yeah, this was like a second thing for them, all of them. Most of them. Almost all of them.
So like when the bands, disbanded or whatever, they had to go out and get jobs. Wally drove a bus for mentally impaired children for years, Wally Bryson and the Raspberries. That's what he did, yeah.
Wow.
And guys like that, they just went out and got other jobs. They still played music.
But they just couldn't support.
Right, exactly.
They couldn't make a living doing it anymore.
So, I wouldn't charge the guys to go do it. I say, hey, please let me in the door and I'll capture this. And plus it promotes me too,
Oh, yeah.
So,
and you have a nice little following on a lot of people follow you. And
it's fun. And, I like when people compliment me on my work.
You do nice work.
That's really great stuff. I'm going, oh, thanks so much, And I do it for them, basically. And I don't want to be famous or, all this stuff. I just stay behind the camera. As a matter of fact, I belong behind the camera over there.
I'd sneak in and play it. And just evolved from there. I roadied for the band. I was probably 14 years old, and I'd go set up the gear for them for a couple years, and then they had moderate success. They had a nice single, It's Cold Outside, and they were hitting they were called The Choir. And it was on the charts. It was #1 in Cleveland. So they got to play all the cool gigs.
Honored to do this for them, because I thought these guys need a spotlight, and this is my spotlight that I'm doing for them.
Putting on there.
And again, you could read all the stories that you want or this and that. These guys are talking straight to you. There's nobody in between. And
right. There's nobody interpreting the story and then writing it out.
Right, exactly. So that's the only difference as far as your traditional documentaries go, No narrator, no stand-up guy. All that's gone.
But it's still easy to follow.
Absolutely. Excuse me. While I was doing this, you have to make it flow, and making a motion picture flow is tough, because when I was doing this, I was thinking of one thing. Who's watching this? This is my audience.
Yeah.
This is not about me and how I want to do it,
Yeah, right.
I'm not selfish that way. I think about my audience and what they would want to see. So that's the way that I produced it. And I had to make it entertaining. I had to throw in background music, and there's no razzle dazzle in there. It's just straightforward. It flows nice, and the stories flow nice. There's a segment in there about Kent State University, and the guys that were there and their experiences, stuff like that. It's kind of chronological too. They tell their stories from when, they were 10 years old and saw the Beatles or something, that was the spark that everybody's running to get drums and guitars, because they want to be like the Beatles.
Yeah.
And that's why it's just the 60s and 70s. Because, again, like I said before, once you get into the 80s, that's a whole new ball game.
Yeah, everything changes.
As far as music.
Yeah, it all changed.
Those 2 decades were historical.
They were.
It's the biggest word I can think of right now.
So when you're first getting into this and all, it's been it's a little while ago. Everything was analog. There was no such thing as digital at the time at all. And that, there it is.
This is what I learned on. This is 3/4 inch videotape, and it's the same principle as your regular VHS stuff. I don't know if you can have a look. I popped this open. You can see how wide the tape is there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can they see that?
Yeah, and those of us that have seen VHS tapes and stuff, it does resemble that.
Yeah. So this is a smaller case, and this was the field tape that you put in a VCR when you go out and capture news or something. And then you have the bigger one, which is your studio cassette, which is bigger. And this will be considered your master in the studio that you would edit off of. So you go from this one to this one. And, of course, they had the jog shuttle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Frame there. So I did this in a lot of formats, but when the digital realm came, this is just like
so the
dinosaur.
Right, for those people that don't understand when they hear the words analog, digital. Analog is when everything was put on actual physical tape. It's a lot more
mechanical. Yeah,
it's where digital is when they took basically the digits, numbers and stuff like that, and they created sound through that.
O's and ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between the two, and there's benefits I think to both, and there's takeaways and positives to both of them.
Sure
and,
is.
And you're going to always hear this argument about analog versus digital.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, they both serve. They're both great for something.
Yeah.
They both have their things.
Yeah.
But for you in this case, what happens is that you first come into this game, everything you learn is how to do things analog, which is a completely different thing than what digital is now. So you have to relearn the whole entire thing. Did you have to go back to school again for this now?
No, I taught myself, and they have tutorials now you can go on but I downloaded Sony Movie Studio. It's a real simple software, where you could just do cuts and fades and fade in and out, just a real basic thing.
Yeah.
So I played with that for a long time, just loading stuff up. And then, of course, I stepped up to the more professional, like Sony Vegas 15, 18, and there's a lot more bells and whistles and stuff, but it's still basically the same
timeline.
Right.
Yeah, is that what you use, timeline? You don't use storyboard?
Timeline, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. And, once you get into it, digital has its artifacts, and the software crashes, and you didn't get that with the tapes.
Right.
But, of course, with videotape, you play it so many times, the magnetic particles start to fall out, and you get drop out. And then, of course, when you duplicate copies, your quality goes downhill real quick.
Quality went downhill on these just from playing them.
Absolutely.
That's what people don't realize. Like if you weren't around for the analog thing, your digital quality never goes away.
Right.
It stays that way forever.
Yep.
But every time you would play, even those little cassettes that we had, you'd buy a cassette, and then at some point you would hear the other side of the cassette bleeding through your cassette. It was like they always had a life sentence. It was always going to die. It's like, where that's one of the negatives of analog is that they have diminishing quality issues versus digital. But there's a lot still to be said about tapes that
there is
that was cool for the time and so what about like WMMS? Did you just shoot commercials for them only, or did you ever I think Kinsbach's on here?
Jeff Kinsbach. He was originally at WMMS. We interviewed him. We went down to 98.5. In Akron, I think it is. 97.5.
Oh, 97.5 is in Akron.
97.5.
Yeah.
When he was DJing down there. He's retired now and traveling the country having a good time. But we caught him before he did that. And, he's on there. Great guy, great interview. Had to get a radio guy or two in there, just to spice things up a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
Because the radio guys back then promoted all the local bands. They could play their records. They didn't have a play sheet like they have right now, a corporate play sheet where you got to play this. They played whatever they wanted.
Well, that was the beneficiary also
it
of
was
these guys is
great.
they had WMMS in Cleveland
Sure
at that
did.
time. So it was a beautiful marriage for everything that was going on here because MMS did support the local bands big time. So and they were for I don't know how many years. It was over a decade, I think, where they were the number one station in the nation. Although at the end there things got a little weird. But
Yeah. When I was in TV broadcasting school, WMS had a contest, of who out there can make the best commercial, with your home video
Videos.
camera. So I already had this stuff, right? So I'm thinking, I could do that. So I was sitting at home and I'm looking at my record collection, and I made a commercial based on my record collection. You'll have to play it, and then people will understand. It's a 30-second thing, and they aired it.
they
So I
used
was
it.
like, yeah, I was like, oh, that's cool.
Did you win anything for that?
No, they say, gosh, it's been so many years. They said, we'll air your commercial. I said, well, that was good enough for me.
Yeah, right.
So they did. They did, and I was excited about it,
Well, how old were you when that happened? I mean, you had already finished school. You're
I was
already
in
past.
TV school when I did that commercial for them.
Oh, you were
Yeah.
actually.
So I went in
So is that the
school
first
and
thing that ever happened that you ever really?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. When Neil Giraldo and Pat Benatar came to town, they stayed at the Ritz-Carlton downtown. And I had to rent a room, a small banquet room, and Neil came down. And I think for 4 hours it was like $300, almost $400,
Wow.
just to interview him. So he's in the film. That was shot at the Ritz-Carlton in a small banquet room.
I have to ask. So how long did you interview him for?
That day,
Yeah.
it was
It was $400 to interview him. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but we have setup time. We had to get a makeup artist, too, for him.
Did Pat Benatar make the video?
No, she was upstairs, but they were playing at the...
She's not from Cleveland. I'm just kidding.
No. Well, she said, she probably told Neil, well, this is your town. You go down and do your thing, because he's a Parma boy, I think.
Yeah.
Parma guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that wild.
Yeah, I didn't know that, Todd Sharp from Hall & Oates. He's a Cleveland guy. He's in there.
Oh, really?
Todd Sharp, lead guitar player for Hall & Oates. He's got some great stories.
So is he playing guitar with? No, they're not out no more.
No.
But he was playing guitar when they were in their heyday, in the 80s and stuff. Really?
When they slammed it big. Well, as a matter of fact, from what he says in his interview, he went on tour with them when he just joined the group over to England, and he came back here, and that song "Sarah Smile" just exploded.
Yeah.
So he joined the group and just bang, really great stories, and they tell it much better than I do, of course, but. If you watch that, the first disc is on Northeast Ohio Rock and Roll. For people that want to watch the first disc, it's in 4 parts, and punch it up
I
and
had
watch
a girlfriend I was in love, who's now my wife today, and her older sister, Christine, was a stewardess and had a roommate named Sarah Allen. And Sarah was dating this guy named Daryl Hall, who had a band with John Oates.
Yeah, after Derringer, I just finished a record called Guitars and Women. And Mike Chapman produced a record called If I Weren't So Romantic, I'd Shoot You. That was Rick's record before I joined the band. So he was promoting that record on the tour in 1978, which I toured all year with him on that. So and it had songs that had piano on. So there I was playing piano with Rick as well and guitar.
I was familiar with Hall & Oates. I had their record, and I kind of knew somebody who knew them. And Christine, my now wife's sister, was talking them up, how great they were, and that I should meet them.
Mike Chapman would come and see us play. And in May, actually it's funny, it's the month of May in 1979, I just finished the record with Rick, Guitars of Women, in maybe April. And the manager said, I'm going to give you a free ticket back to Cleveland. We're kind of done with you now. We'll let you know when the tour is going to start. I said, well, geez, I don't have anything else to do next. And I said, man, I got to think about what I'm going to do. Then some people start calling and say, we're thinking about could you come in the studio to do this? Would you like to do this? And nothing really sounded that interesting to me. And then all of a sudden I got a call from an A&R person from Chrysalis Records while I was leaving the studio.
You know, and so I thought, okay, well. So one day they played here at the Agora, and I was playing downstairs at the Mistake in a band. And I went upstairs to meet him, and I gave him a demo that I'd done with probably E.T. Hooley, I think. And we met. You know, we'd sort of been mutually introduced without that person being there. It was my sister-in-law. And about, I don't know, 6 or 8 months later, I got a phone call from their office, and their manager had said, Daryl and John want to know if you want to come to New York and audition to be in their band. They've got a couple of shows in England, and they have a new album coming out.
Now this is where fate's the wrong word to use in this respect, because fate is sometimes not something that turns out good. But this was something that was spectacular. I'm in the car ready to leave Woodstock, New York to come to the airport, LaGuardia, and go to Cleveland. I get a call. The guy runs out, wait, you can't leave. There's a call from record company. I'm thinking it's all my Goomba buddies busting my chops from Cleveland, calling up and say, hey, let's mess with you, doing the goofy Italian Cleveland thing. So I said, nah, forget about it. You know, hell with it. I don't care about that. I don't want to talk to him.
And so I said, sure, yeah. And I flew up to New York. My father lent me the money, $50. And I did and so I'm in New York City. I'm going to audition for Hall & Oates, who are on their about 4th record, but nothing's really stuck. No one's really, they haven't caught on yet. And I'm thinking, and I shedded, you know, pretty good. They said, you learn these 5 songs, and that's what we'll do at the audition. So I walk into SIR on East 54th Street, and it's a cattle call. There's all kinds of guitar players auditioning for this. And I'm thinking, you know, it was very nice of them to invite me to come. I'm sure one of these New York, you know, gunslingers is going to get this gig.
No, they go. So he says, okay. Close the door, he comes around, no, this is real, this ain't a joke. I go, all right, I'll come in there. So I get in there, I talk to him, I'm on the phone, I go, yeah, he goes, listen, there's this person that got signed to a record deal. They have no band, they have no direction. There's basically just this person we signed, has a great voice, it was from New York. And would you be interested in meeting this person to put a band together? And I says, well, yeah, maybe I heard of him, what's his name? He goes, not a him, it's a her. And I go, oh, Jesus, a her.
Anyhow, they said, after the audition, they said, well, we like you, but we're not sure yet. Can you stay overnight, and we'll do it again tomorrow? So we did it again the next day, and then they hired me, and they said, you got it. You're our guy. So I joined their band. That was in '75. So that happened. You know, my plan was to go to music school, and I never got there.
So me being the stupid Goomba that I am from Cleveland, I say, is she good looking, you know, just for fun, because I'm just being silly at that point, you know. And he goes, yeah, but she's married. I go, oh, well, so much for that. So anyway, I was just playing around with that. So he goes, go down to SIR. We'll tell them you're going to meet them. Just check it out, see if you guys get along. So I went there, walked through the door, met this person, met her. And it was instantaneous. It was what I always dreamed of, starting a rock and roll band from the very beginning. I just didn't know it was going to be a girl. And it really didn't matter to me, honest to God. It meant all I wanted was a great singer. And I heard her sing, and that's Patricia, obviously. And I heard her sing, and I thought, wow, what a beautiful voice. What do you want to do this for?
At that point, Daryl and John those guys were, and still are, just amazing. I'd never, you know, kind of been in the room with that sort of level of, not that the people I had been working with weren't talented, but Daryl and John were like, you know, something else. They sang so good, and they were so tight together.
You know, you beautiful. She goes, well, you know, I've done cabaret and show tunes, but I want a rock band. I says, you know, things are going to change. You know, it's a whole different world. I mean, that's all I knew, you know, besides the jazz piano stuff, but that's what I knew. And she goes, well, let's play. You know, so I played a little guitar. She sang. It was immediate. Record company was there. He picks up her. I'm sitting down. He drops her right in my lap. He goes, here's your guy. Says it to her. Here's your guy. we're going. And they were super excited. So from that moment on, they handed me the keys to the car.
Like, it was just like, wow, these guys are really good. They were great looking. They were great musicians. They wrote great songs. They had this Philadelphia thing that I had never really been exposed to, you know? Like, it was like they grew up on the Spinners and stuff like that. And, you know, Gamble and Huff music. And I grew up on Freddie King and Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix. So it was real fascinating to me.
And says, do whatever you want. So I became now the architect of sound. I was the guy in charge. Anything I wanted to do, it was phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's like my dream. My dream came true. It seemed like everything got better. When I joined Derringer, next thing you know, boom, 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 and never stopped.
October 1975, the New Victoria Theater, and I went, that was the first gig that I did. That was the night that they became famous. And it was kind of like that. Like, the next morning, they exploded in England. We booked a tour. We were coming right back to England, like a 6-week tour of Great Britain and maybe a couple other European things. We came back to New York, and then a radio station in Cleveland, WJMO actually, black station, started playing the B-side of their single. It wasn't even the single, and it was Sarah's Smile. And that's when and that was really their first hit. And that started here in Cleveland.
Or if you go on to Northeast Ohio Rock and Roll, just click on my picture and you could see everything that I've posted. All there. You don't have to, go on the main page and look for it. Click on my picture and everything that I put up there is there. And of course, it's not everything that I've done. I've got videos I totally forgot that I did. I went, oh my God, I forgot. How could I forget about that?
Well, yeah, and to be honest, I mean, like, I signed up for that page before I even knew who you were or anything. I've been a part of that for a while now. Yeah. And anybody that wants to, you're always posting stuff, putting videos up and stuff.
You're like a donut. Everybody gets a turn. I'll tell you one day, sweet baby, you won't be the one I get to burn. Every dog has a deal. There's a prize for the power to live. Some you win, some you lose. Don't forget that golden rule. You said everybody lives. Every dog has a deal. There's a prize for the power to live.
Things are going up there too. A lot of people sharing stories. A lot of people. There's a lot of stuff.
That's a very cool site.
Very interesting.
It's a very cool site, and it went from like 500 members a year ago. Right now, when Scott started it, and it shot up to almost 5,000 now.
Yeah,
and there's people still joining too.
Yeah, well, like I say, it's Cleveland. I keep saying this stuff, but I'm sure every city in their way does. But Cleveland has a people in Cleveland have such an attachment to Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Especially people our age have a nostalgic attachment to those times that you documented. Which I think was what makes you so interesting and such an important part of what we're trying to do. A guy like you can't be underestimated as far as what you bring to the table. You have a collection still of stuff that needs to come out. Yeah. We need to get this stuff out there for people to see, because I think that time is so interesting, and it needs to be. There's nothing else. You can't go online and find a whole bunch of stuff out there that documented this period. You are the guy who did a lot of it, and then what's being seen, like when I watched that Rich Spina thing, I didn't even know it was you that did it till I was done. I was like, oh my God, that was him. Like, I'm watching it without even knowing. It wasn't because I knew it was you. I watched it. I watched it. Then I knew it was you. So it's out there. But when you're watching it, people don't realize who's responsible for getting this stuff. It was you.
Well, that's okay. I don't want to be famous. As long as it's out there and people can see it and enjoy it. That's what I want to just put it out there because, after it's historical. It's historical stuff that'll never be repeated again, in this town. I don't think so anyway.
No.
So
we're trying to get something close to it,
Yeah.
but the problem just is that there's a certain level of debauchery that went on in the 70s and the 60s that's kind of like taboo now, that really was like, it made that time a whole different time. Rock and roll was different, it was, the Zeppelins were out and the Who, and, these guys that was their idols, and that's what was happening, There was a lot of crazy stuff going on back then. Yeah.
It was a magical time,
And it's one thing that everybody talks about that time and tells stories about that time, but when you can actually be like, well, here's one of the guys right here that we're talking about, and people can see it and see the level of talent, also the level of like the Glenn Schwartzes, and when you see that thing with Rich Spina, how that guy could sing,
it blew me down, just blew me away.
Yeah, you're
I
just
play
like,
for people to go, who's that guy? Who sings Janis Joplin songs?
yeah.
Not many males.
And you know what? I think something like this really, really brings to light is how bizarre it is that the ones that nationally or even like internationally make it huge, and then you watch some of these guys and you're like, well, how is that guy not internationally known and this guy is? And it really brings into perspective just what really goes into all this. How people become that successful has very little to do with what they're capable of sometimes. It's such a lucky, especially back then, breaks came to some people, and just some people never got those huge breaks. Worthy of it, though. We're worthy of it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what a lot of this stuff brings to light, the scene that was here. And especially, let's not forget, Cleveland gets a lot of black eyes. We've been dealing with that forever. All the negativity that comes with this. And I think a lot of the good, positive stuff from this time, especially this time, there was a lot of negativity in
60s,
Cleveland.
absolutely.
Yeah. I think that this is lost. There was a lot of things happening that weren't a part of the negative black eyes that we were getting. And now we have something that's out there that says, this was also happening. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I really think I would just love to see this more available. Because I remember when Tyrone left that day, I went right on the line. I'm like, where is this thing, And then that's when I got interested in you.
Yeah. Well, again, it's the copyright thing. And, I could still do a lot more with this, With that right there, I could just put it back up and switch things around. And if I do get some original music, put it in there. But I think it's a lost cause now, really.
Well, I don't think so.
There's still a lot I could do with it, and it's there.
I really think that the problem with this whole thing is that you have this golden. This is stuff that like for you now. I mean, you spent 5 years just to do all this. This is something that I don't think it doesn't exist anywhere else if it doesn't come from you, man.
Right. It is unique. And for the copies that are out there, let's see, real quick. I have them numbered.
Oh,
they're all numbered. And back behind here, I signed a few of them. So if you have the ones that,
did I get it signed?
Yeah, it's in there. It's in there.
That's my first signed copy of anything. These guys never think you guys start signing your stuff. I want signed stuff from now on.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
It's there on the back of the sleeve. So I signed them too. And the ones that are out there, someday they'll be pretty rare,
Well, that's my hope and goal. No.
Yeah.
I think they already are. And I think that's the thing is that these things are so rare that they need to become less rare.
Yeah.
I would think the story itself is just begging to be told.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, for most of the 5 years, I took my military pension check, and every one of my military pension checks went into this. And I added it up one day, and I stopped when it reached $42,000 that I had invested, Now, by Hollywood standards, that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. But for an individual, guy like me, just a small fry here in Cleveland with some camera stuff, it's a lot of money. I'll never make it back. I don't care. It's not about the money. It's about the music. So, and I'm okay. I'll never be homeless or hungry.
Well, I mean,
so that's good.
Well, and I think some people will tell you you're crazy for that, but I wouldn't.
No.
I mean,
I
like,
enjoy doing it.
You have to
sacrifice and go for it.
And experiences are everything in this world. What you experience in the end
absolutely
is all that matters. And you created a situation for yourself where you have memories that how many people can say they
right.
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's like to be you at this point because you've done something that a lot of people haven't ever. Actually, nobody's done this. Not this.
Right. And there's a lot of off the record stuff. When the cameras and everything were off. The stories that I heard, it's like, whoa.
Did you get to capture any of that? Did you leave the cameras rolling ever type thing?
No. Shut everything down. We hang out. And talk about this and that. Hey, whatever happened with. This guy in this group, and whatever. The music business, just like any other business, it has its dark sides, And I'm not going to repeat anything, that some of the guys said, because this is all a positive thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want any negativity in there. The only thing that's kind of negative is Kent State, but it happened. It was a huge event that happened, and the guys that were there, Joe Vitale, Ray Bennett, Terry Hine, who's Chrissy Hine's brother. Oh. He's in there. He's in a numbers band, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, I remember Tyrone said he met her through her brother.
Oh, right.
Tyrone said he met Chrissy through her brother, so
Terry.
I remember him saying it. Yeah.
And he's been in the numbers band for, years and years and years. Well, the numbers band is in there, and Terry's a character. He's a character, but he tells a really great story of him being at Kent State when the shooting was going on.
They were attending it at the time. Is that what they were? They were there attending school, or they were there for other reasons?
Well, they lived there.
They
lived in Kent. Oh. So, those stories are really interesting too, and a lot of categories in there, that we threw with the guys. So
excellent, man.
It's there.
Excellent.
It's there.
All right. I think that's about it.
Okay.
I really appreciate you coming down, man.
Great. You guys got a really cool place here. I like this.
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Thanks.
Yeah, we put a lot into this one.
Okay.
I appreciate it. I don't know how much it was, but excellent. Well, yeah, I can tell you guys right now, I will be playing some stuff off of here. I'll get onto this show, onto this podcast, and but I just want to thank you for coming down, man.
Oh, thank you,
and good luck.
Oh,
on your next chapter of life, going into the mountains.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll be back. See you guys.
Cool.
And good luck with your endeavor here. You guys got a cool thing going.
Thank you,
man.
Very,
very cool.
Thank you.
So,
all right, guys, that's it for us. Level Up Cleveland, and we are out of here.
That'll be fine.